I'm Emily Hiner. I am a ceramic artist and currently studying at Cornell College, getting my bachelor's in studio art.
Working with clay is a process. You start with powder. You mix water. You work the clay.
Just getting all the air pockets out of the piece.
You might press it. It might be thrown on a wheel. Maybe it gets cast in a mold. Then there are steps like glazing. It spends time in a kiln, and you end up with something beautiful, functional, useful.
Slip casting, I started doing it in high school, and I used a lot of Maria White's molds, who's my mentor. And that's basically it for now. The slip will absorb into the plaster and it will start to sink, so I'll have to pour a little bit back in and then we'll come back to it, and then I can dump it out. I usually let it set for about 20 minutes. And I loved the idea of like mass production, and then, learning how to make molds when I got to college. I don't know, I just think that's such a fascinating process. It's a long, tedious process, and you gotta make sure every ingredient's right when you're making your plaster and when you're making your slip, but when it works out really, really nice. If I'm able to put what's in my mind out there for my viewers and audience to see, I think it will be a big stepping stone. That one just wanted to fly off. I wanted to enhance my mold making skills, so I thought, let's get something really complex. And so, why do I think skulls are cool? I look throughout art history in general, and skulls have different significances in different cultures. I don't know, I've just always found them just to be really neat. And so within the past 4 years, starting in 2020, I've had a lot of loss in my life. So a lot of loss within the 4 years, and I think in a weird way this is kind of helping with that grieving process. Ultimate dream would be to have my own commercial space where the front half would be a gallery of all items that I have made, where the other half of the building would be where I would have a studio space and I would work on and just make and be able to sell these things, but then also provide classes for anybody in the community, or to do one-on-one sessions with somebody who may just kind of need that time to talk and make art, and to have just that official business and be able to live off of it would be the dream. Smooth it out, which is always very satisfying. So working and doing tile work
You can actually do your own backsplashes for your kitchen or for sometimes bathroom. A lot of people will just buy like simple bathroom tiles, or they'll buy those vinyl release sticky things, and then making sure that they kind of all dry together next to each other so they don't warp that way, and they know they just kind of fit nice and. But I think it's a lot more fun do something like that on a handmade level because you can choose your own colors, your own designs. You can kind of get funky with the shapes that you decide to cut out using graphic design and our 3D printer in our academic technology studio. I was able to make these design stamps, and I had the idea of just pressing each time, but that was going to take a whole lot of time to do and probably wouldn't capture all the details, and I'd be taking clay out of this thing all the time. So using my mold making knowledge, I pressed and I made the best little stamps I could. Placed them down on just a plain wood bat, and I poured plaster all over them, and then I took the clay out one by one. I can take slabs, and we'll go for that one. And then use the neat little trick of grabbing some clay and suctioning it out. And then I'd have a perfect little stamp each time. I'm gonna throw this down in the middle and pat it. And then a ton of water in the center. Get more water and cone upwards. More water, cone down. For me, ceramics or pottery or just working in clay is therapeutic or healing. I get to make something, an actual artwork, something that will outlive me, but then being able to give it to somebody else or to gift it on to somebody or make it in memory of somebody else. And it goes to a home and has a purpose or has a special meaning behind it. It could make somebody else's day. It could be, you know, just major significance. But just for my piece to have a function and maybe to help somebody else smile or just to feel better. And then it just also makes me feel better knowing that, you know, this little guy has a home, you know. Something handcrafted versus the commercially made products. I think the reason why handmade is so much more significant. Is you know that that person put time, money, resources into making whatever it is that they end up making for you. I always add a personal touch whenever I do it, but handmade work, I don't know, just always, it just shows somebody that they care and they took the time to do so. The feelings that I encounter while I'm throwing can be a range. Some days it's just not a good day at all and pieces just keep flopping and I could get really frustrated. Other days, I feel pretty good about myself. I feel, successful, and I feel like I made progress on something today, or I was efficient. When I get to those achievements, it just makes you feel good. Well, with my work, I hope to kind of continue on a legacy. Those pieces don't come down. Of my mentor and all the other instructors that I've had over the years. Just make sure that this is centered. I've learned different things from every single one of them, and to carry that on in my making, that would be hopefully to make them proud, but then to hopefully have my own future business where it'd be a gallery space and a studio space, as my mentor once had. That would be the ultimate dream or outcome for my pieces and kind of their significance. Angela White, she was the first person who introduced me to throwing on the wheel. She taught me how to throw and really built my confidence over the high school years. She introduced me to her mother, Maria, who I'd say is my top mentor. Moving on to college, I didn't want to leave her, but then I met Zach Wallert, and he really helped me expand in my wheel throwing techniques. He taught me different things about firing and firing up to higher temperatures, and introducing me to work that you can put into the dishwasher or microwave, which is so nice instead of having to hand wash all the time. Super happy for him. He's now the chair of ceramics at the Arkansas Museum of Art. Then I got to meet Amethyst Warrington, and she taught us so much sculptural technique, and I never really did care for sculpting all that much, but I've gained a new appreciation because of it. So she was wonderful to have as the last kind of mentor teacher at Kirkwood. And then now coming into Cornell for my last years of college, Susanna Biondo Jamel. She is the head of the art department, and she's my advisor, and then of course my overseeing professor for my student senior exhibition. She has pushed me to get out of my comfort zone and to try new things with wheel throwing or application of glaze, and she's just been a big supporter and motivator. During high school, we'd have Thursday night art nights, and so every single Thursday night I'd go and throw on the wheel, and anybody could work on whatever they wanted to work on. My high school art teacher, Angela White, she was working on a personal project or maybe a commission for somebody else, and so she had her mom come in, and that was my very first time ever meeting her. And she was thrown on the wheel, and this woman was about maybe 4 foot tall, Italian, sassy woman, super sweet, and I'm thrown on the wheel, she's thrown on the wheel across from me, and we just start talking, and I just fell in love with her personality. It wasn't until almost to my senior year of high school that my high school instructor, Angela, she said, you know what, if you missed this over the summer, you need to come to my mom's shop in Monticello and continue working. So I took her up on it. I went over to her shop, and it was gorgeous. I remember walking in, and she comes around the corner, this 4 foot tall person. She comes over and gives me the biggest squeeze, and she's like, finally you're here. And I just started working that summer, and she taught me some tricks on the wheel, and she taught me some of her techniques in sgraffito, which is Italian for to carve into clay. So sgraffito is a surface decoration technique that she really thrived in. And she taught me, how to carve flowers into surfaces, because that was something I always found extremely neat about her work. And as I got to know her more, the more comfortable we got, and I got to see more of her true personality come out. She was a very independent businesswoman. She would also have people come in who had mental and physical disabilities, and that was a huge thing for me because that's primarily my friend group. That's what I really enjoyed about her and her work. She was 72 when I met her, and over the years, I think she smoked her entire life. She also was always around like ceramic dust, and that can cause serious damage to the lungs. But she still was her spunky self. She was diagnosed with COPD, but she was a trooper about it, still her sassy self. And towards the end of her life, I had a showing at a gallery. And I talked with Angela and I said, please, if she's not doing well today, she doesn't have to come. She came. And that was wonderful to see her that night, and she made me a piece that I truly treasure. And about 2 months afterwards, she passed. I want to do what she did. That's the real goal with all this. It is something that I really do want to do, and try to continue that legacy. So with this senior exhibition, I really wanted to work on functional, utilitarian, things that you use every single day. And I had already did a project last year where I made over 200 mugs, and it was a real, confidence booster, and I felt really good about it and had a good sale and a lot of supporters. And so I feel like with this exhibition, I could really expand upon it. So I pushed myself to do sculptural pieces, stuff with just a little bit more detail, more using different non-traditional techniques, such as using 3D printing and mold making, and but all of it to come together to make one piece that serves a purpose. And whether it's a piece to put your flowers in, or something you just throw your keys into to drink out of, or to hold your toothpaste in the morning. It could be anything, but to create something that everybody could have a purpose and use for. And so with my exhibition space being kind of like that future dream of having a commercial side and a studio side, to have all these things that people could come in and use and potentially find a function for is ideally what I'm striving for. So I've seen a lot of people just benefit from making art in general, and with me being really fulfilled creating along the way, I've been able to help others, make these small breakthroughs. Or we just had a utilitarian ceramics class downstairs last block, and I got to help a lot of the students when I had free time, and for them to have those little milestones of successes, and like, oh my gosh, I actually made something that's, not this sideways, and oh my gosh, this actually holds liquid. For them to open up the kilns and be excited about what came out, that just gave me excitement in a way, and for people to feel confident and happy in what they're doing, and for them to, be like, look at what I just made, I'm pretty dang proud of this. It just makes me feel good to see somebody else feel good.